Anxiety. It's a word that I've known, but I had never really known how it felt to me and how it felt in my body until my late 20s. And this is my story and my experience of how I started to discover about anxiety and what it meant to me, how it felt in my body, what I experienced, and what I am continuing to do until today that has helped me to manage this anxiety. Before anything, quick disclaimer, I am not a mental health expert. I don't claim to be. I understand that anxiety means differently to a lot of different people, and depending on your severity and how much you feel it, it might vary, or the kinds of things that I say might vary depend on that. Also, I don't expect that the things that I say in this video might definitely relate to you or might definitely help you. So please, with your own discretion, you can try these methods out. You can try to understand more about yourself in a similar way. But please contact a professional for these cases. So, so I want to start with the story of how I started to discover what that word anxiety means. I'm gonna cast this back to my time in this company. It's a company that I was working in terms of sales role, roughly 2021, 2022. So this was at the time where I had already moved over to Bangkok, Thailand. And it's a sales role. Many people will know in corporate sales that, a sales role is pretty tough. It's demanding. It is relentless. You have targets. You have KPIs. A lot of different things that are basically behind your back at all times. And there are very strong stakes when you don't hit those certain KPIs or certain goals, for example. So that in itself is a stressful job, and that was the job that I was managing for roughly a year and a half in this specific company. So that's the general context behind what happened. Specifically during the midst of this time, I can't remember very specifically, but it was sometime, I believe, during 2021 of September, if I'm not mistaken. I had a an accident. I had an accident where I dislocated my right shoulder. I'll probably do a separate video about that later on, but I had a shoulder dislocation. It was really painful, and I had to eventually get surgery for it. So what that meant was I took medical leave for roughly 2-3 weeks from my company. And obviously, as a salesperson, nobody really waits for you. Your role still exists and your targets still exist. Your KPIs are still there. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's really covering for you. So in this particular role, there was nobody to cover me, or really we were working more as individuals in our own regions and our own territories. So I came back from that surgery and recovered and started to work back. So roughly I had lost, say, about 3 weeks worth of effort in terms of hitting my targets. So you kind of know where this is going. Um, so mid quarter is when my manager schedules an impromptu meeting. He schedules this impromptu meeting and he says, "Oh, Coco, we need to discuss about a few things. It'll be a quick meeting." The meeting was scheduled for 30 minutes. roughly before lunchtime. Thank goodness it was before lunchtime because of what I'm gonna tell you and share with you. So I had already kind of known or had an inkling of what this meeting was going to be about because I was not going to hit my target for the quarter. And I had already accepted this, knowing that I had that 3 week gap of medical leave. And obviously, coming back, I was also trying to figure out and working hard to see what are the different ways or techniques or things that I can do to fill that gap. So, come towards the meeting, I remembered going to my space and then bringing my laptop over to a phone booth and booking that phone booth and locking myself in before that meeting. I had planned the script of what I was going to say in terms of if he would ask, oh, what are you planning to do in terms of hitting your KPI this quarter? What are your plans? What are your strategies and so on? So I already had a pretty a nice strategy on how I was going to do it and execute. So, sorry, let me take a. So, the meeting started with niceties. How are you doing? How's the recovery going? How's life? Things and so on. So we discussed a little bit about that for the first 10 minutes, maybe, and things started to escalate from that point onwards. It was, yes, discussing about what I was going to do, but it started to escalate to a point where it was talking more about you're not doing this, you're not doing that. This is why you are not achieving this. You need to do more of this. You need to do extra hours. You need to put in this much more effort. You are not putting in this effort. You are not dedicated to your job. And that was the start of that 30-minute meeting. By the way, the meeting took 45 minutes. So, yeah. So the meeting escalated to that. And he started to raise his voice and talk about how I was not going to be able to hit this target, and also at the same time how I was not doing enough. And it was maybe 30 minutes, 35 minutes of just constant it was him talking at me. And why I say at instead of talking to me is because talking to it can be collaborative, it can be a two-way street, it can be something that we can figure out something. This was different. This was being talked at. You're being put in your place, you're being put down. The voice escalated as well, and the voice got higher too, and I just remembered feeling frozen. It was a video call, so I was just looking at the screen. I was taking in most of what he was saying, as much as I could. There was no point for me to have said anything because he was going at it nonstop. And so there was a point where I was just, hearing. I wasn't even listening anymore because there was so much that was coming at me and so much that I couldn't do at that specific stage. And it somehow didn't matter. So I remembered feeling that, and obviously, a lot of tension was building up already, and I knew that I had to talk to someone right after this meeting. I said to myself, I'm going to go to my my favorite colleague and just book a 10-minute slot to just vent and to rant about it. So yeah, so I felt that after that meeting, right after the meeting was done, I told him, okay, thank you. Didn't even say much really because I knew that I was just hanging on by a thread and not breaking down. So closed my laptop, brought it back to the work desk, and it was lunchtime. So I messaged my favorite colleague. I told him, "Hey, I can we just speak for 5 minutes, please? Um, I really need this." And thankfully, he didn't see my message, but he walked past me when I was going out of the office, and I caught him, and I said, "Okay, I really need to talk to you. Like, do you have a minute?" And at that point, I was already on the verge of breaking down. I already felt my whole body just like being, yeah, I don't know. It's such a visceral feeling. It's like you're there and you're not there at the same time, and you're kind of, just thinking about that specific moment and just going back and forth on these things, and thinking about the pressure, thinking about the stress. And he says, "Oh yeah, Coco, yeah, what's going on? How are you feeling? How are you doing?" And something about the way that he asked me that question, we went into the lift, and also thankfully nobody else was there. I just remembered starting to just profusely, uncontrollably cry, and just I broke down. I'd never cried like that in my life. Um, and it came from a point of so much frustration that had been built up, and I've had challenges with this specific manager for a while, so this was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. And yeah, I was uncontrollably crying to the point where I literally could not speak. I was just gasping for air. And yeah, so we went to a nearby cafe. I told him, I can literally not talk to you. I'm trying, but the words are not coming out. And I will let you know when we get to the cafe. And so really it was me talking to this colleague of mine, and if you are watching this, you know who you are. I am so grateful. I am so thankful that you were there at that time to have listened to what I was going to say, because I think it was something that I needed specifically during that time. Just somebody that was there to listen, really, and not offer solutions, and just be. So I'm really grateful for that. Um, so that was the initial point of when things started happening. Um, Fast forward, say 1 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. These were the times where I had started to feel that I was putting in so much effort, but at the same time I felt exhausted. I felt frustrated because, again, the target was still there. I wasn't going to be able to hit it, and it started to become a realization that that was not going to happen, even though I was putting in the effort. Um, and I started realizing how I was becoming more unmotivated, um, more anxious, in hindsight, more anxious, and also becoming more and more difficult for me to go about my daily life, because I just felt that immense pressure. And something did not sit well with that, uh, because I knew that that wasn't me. I'm usually the type of person that's like pretty ambitious, want to go out and do new things, see people, socialize, go out and do activities, hobbies, and whatever. But that was the point where I had started to shut down and become quiet and more introspective, but not in a good way. Maybe more ruminating in that sense. So, what happened? I started feeling more tension headaches almost every day. I had lack of sleep. I could not sleep because I had thoughts just running in my head all the time. Like literally, you're trying to sleep, but your brain and your body doesn't allow you to sleep in some way, and it felt so frustrating. And I was trying to find a solution to that as well. That's also another separate story. And having the Sunday scaries. Actually, not even Sunday scaries, because when Friday happened, Saturday morning, I was also still thinking about work. I was thinking about work. I was thinking about the emails that I hadn't answered to, the people that I still need to provide proposals for, the proposals that were going to go through, not go through, the things that were going to fall short, all of those different things. It was horrible, and I didn't know how to manage that. So at this time, I told myself I need to get help. And, you know, as much as talking to friends and family helped in a way, this was a level of frustration that was there that I needed to, that I knew that I needed to find somebody that could help me. So I decided to go to a therapist. It was actually pretty, I would credit myself honestly of being quite courageous to do this, because getting therapy, going to a therapist is still, again, a taboo thing. The easy thing for people to talk about this and to connotate with that, especially in Asian context, is, crazy people go to therapists. And some part of me also even thought that I was going crazy. And therapy is so much more than that, and it's again, that's a topic for another day too. So I went to the therapist, and I went for the first session quite nervous, not sure what to expect out of it. So the therapist asked me, a lot of questions. I'm gonna leave most of that out. So I went for 3 sessions with the therapist. That was across 3 weeks. There were things that this therapist told me to do in terms of a little bit of homework, a little bit of reflection, journaling, and so on, and to maybe even a gratitude journal. So one of the observations that I had during this therapy session was how he went through my speech pattern. And he says, one of the things that you are feeling that you might not have known might be anxiety. Actually, the way that he phrased it was, Coco, from our previous sessions and from this session, that was on the third session, he said, Coco, do you know the word anxiety? And I said, well, I know of the word. I don't know what the word means to me. I don't know how that relates to me. But I asked him, is that what I'm having? And he says, well, you talk about tightness in your chest. You talk about not being able to sleep at night. You talk about, being fearful of things that are not happening. You also talk about thinking of scenarios that haven't happened yet, and just maybe thinking of the worst case scenario. And those patterns and the ways of words that you describe might point to you feeling anxiety. And so something about that struck with me, and I at that specific point in time, I go, wow, I had been feeling anxiety for so long in my life, but I didn't know. I didn't even know that that was anxiety, that tightness in your chest, not being able to breathe properly and on certain times, overthinking of the scenarios that were going to happen before they were actually going to happen. So that was a revelation. I didn't go back to the therapist after that session because I felt that I had the groundwork and the tools or the validation that I could manage this myself. So that's what I did. And that was at that moment that I knew that I wanted to become better in terms of my own mental health. I knew of the positives that were going to come out of it, and really to become a better person from that point onwards, because certain things that you don't want to do, certain things that you don't do, certain things that you avoid, sometimes aren't really about just plain, say, laziness or procrastination. I realized that there's something behind that could be a mental block, it could be a subconscious thought, it could be, an inner voice that is holding you back. And maybe you don't actually even know that it is holding you back until you introspect and you start to feel it in your body for yourself that, okay, this is the real reason and the root cause of why I am not doing the thing, actually delaying the thing, or maybe even stopping to try. So yeah, that was how I learned about the word anxiety. I refuse to say I am an anxious person because this is not my personality. I will say that I am a person that does experience anxiety every now and then. But at the same time, there are ways that I have been able to manage this and have been actively managing this. And this is the next part that I want to share. So these are some of the things that have helped me. And I've tried a lot of different other things that didn't work, but these are things that are still working for me and that I continue to do until today. So I'd like to share that with you. Right. So it's a bit of a list. So I have some guide over here. Number one, I think, is this is also another lesson that I learned through me researching more about anxiety and how other people go through it and so on. This one in particular was one of the more impactful ones, I would say, is mental reframing. How do we do that? Before I tell you how I do that, I'll tell you about the story or the research that I read that came to that point. There's a study that was done for two groups of people, and this was about anxiety and also performance related anxiety, for example. Two groups of people. One group was told before they went on stage and performed and did these activities. One group was told, "I am calm," and told to repeat that before they went on stage. Another group was told to say, "I am anxious," before they went on stage. What the researchers found, and with the different ways of their study, is that the people that said "I am calm" did significantly better in terms of the performance, in terms of the tests that they did, compared to the ones that said they are anxious. So that's number one, the mental reframing of I am okay, I am calm, I can do this, this is going to be easy for me, I've prepared enough for this, for example. So I sometimes before going into a really tough meeting or a tough discussion or going into a tough day at work, I recite those things in my head just as a buffer for me to be able to handle the day. It it helps a little bit. It doesn't solve all your problems, but it is the start of being able to be okay with managing tough situations. The other study, I don't know what the study is, but I've also read about it, and listened to it on a few podcasts. There was also one study of whether the physiological signs of excitedness and anxiousness were any different. So it was a blind test for some of the doctors. People were brought in who felt, say, for example, they were told that they were felt excited. There were activities that made them feel excited, and they were being told to repeat the word, "I am excited, I am excited." Um, and another group that felt anxious already. And when they put these two different groups of people under the tests, under the machines and so on, and did those scans, the doctors could not distinguish between someone who was excited versus someone who was anxious. There was no difference in terms of physiological signs of somebody that's excited and anxious. And that reframing to me is so important, because that to me that tells me that my body is saying that I am excited for something. I am, yes, maybe nervous and maybe anxious for something, but I'm excited for something because it matters to me. And knowing that, I can take more control over my own body and my own thinking to say that this somehow matters to me. I am going to make the best out of this situation, and I can handle it. That was the first thing that I did, and continue to do. Second, journaling. Journaling has been so helpful for me. I've discovered so much about myself and the trends that I think, the ways that I think, or throughout my journaling. I started journaling roughly around, or actively journaling, roughly around 2021 when I came over to Bangkok. And reading back on all of those different journals, I can see how I was processing certain moments of my life, the ways of thinking that has changed, my maturity or my lack of maturity at that time, or even lack of maturity right now, comparing to that time where maybe I had better frames of thought. Uh, so the way that I journal, and everyone journals a little bit differently, but there's two ways that I journal, which is one is more unstructured. I sit at a desk. I go, okay, I am going to start journaling, maybe 5-10 minutes, or maybe even more. Depends on how much time I have or how much I want to journal. And I just write. I write whatever comes into my head. I write all the thoughts that come into my head. Say, for example, okay, today I am feeling a little bit, okay, sure, anxious. I have been thinking about work, I have been thinking about this, and then if something else kind of comes out of my head, I'm just gonna write that thought. I'm just going to oh yeah, I feel a little bit hungry right now. I wish I had that Japanese rice or whatever. And oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to do this specific thing on that day. Oh, I haven't told this to this person on that day. So the the reason why I do that is because I see sometimes that in my head is like it's like a a woolen ball of threads, or just mashed up all together. And by journaling and by writing down my thoughts as they come and as a conscious stream, I am basically unthreading and pulling out strands of that thread into something that is um, more intelligible and understandable, and maybe even easier to comprehend. So When I started doing that, I started to see the patterns of my thinking and different ways of how my thought processes go, and certain things that I was worried about that were maybe not the best things to worry about, certain things that I maybe don't really need to even worry about that I was worrying about, and so on. So that's number one. Number two is I started to do more of a structured journal. I try every week, which is, things like, for example, what gave me energy during the week, what took away my energy during the week, what are things that I am holding off from doing, what are things that are worrying me, what are things that I plan to do, what are the smallest actions that I want to do or plan to do for the next week. So it's a little bit more tactical in that way. I have a lot of journaling prompts that I usually use every now and then, so that is something that I continue to do that has helped me. Maybe another thing that I do is listening to philosophy podcasts. I have been very obsessed with Alain de Botton. He is a modern day philosopher. I love his work and the podcast that he put out, and his main podcast, or the channel on YouTube, which I highly recommend, is called School of Life, and it's helped me to understand more about myself, relationships, friendships, work, different facets of my life in a different perspective. And that's, I think, something that I really need sometimes is maybe we stay too much in our own heads, that we need a different perspective from somebody that just takes you out of your head for a little bit. So I really enjoy philosophy podcasts like that. There are a lot of other podcasts, but that in particular is something that I always gravitate back towards. Maybe I will end with actually, I have two more. Being social and having hobbies. And obviously when I say hobbies, it could also contain exercise too. I remember, or at least I observed that, let's say, for example, I like playing badminton, or I like playing, musical instruments. I like playing guitar and piano. When I am doing these activities and when I'm, invested in these hobbies, I observe that my mind somehow goes blank. And that's not a bad thing. But it feels peaceful there for some reason. It feels peaceful, it feels quiet, it feels intentional, it feels slow, and it feels like I can breathe. And there's a chance for me to just exhale for a little bit. And that to me is something that I truly enjoy, doing those hobbies. So I really recommend, find a hobby that you really like, go for those hobbies, find the community that you can talk to, and and share your experiences together. Changed a lot of aspects of my life. The last point, maybe a little bit controversial, and again, I've already put a disclaimer, so yes, take it as you will. I admit that I consult an AI therapist, so to speak. There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of different ones that help in different ways, or maybe aren't as helpful in different ways. The specific one that I tried using was called Ash. It is, or at least in my usage, I feel that this one is more, okay, so maybe just a side note. A lot of these AI tools, we have ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so on. one of their goals is for you to actually use the platform quite actively. And that's why there's always that prompt to say, oh, did you want to generate this type of content? Did you want me to help with this additional, thing? Did you want me to generate da? So there's always something for you to keep continually going at it, and it's always prompting you to ask questions because they want more usage out of the platform. One thing I noticed about Ash is, and again, this is not a sponsored video, but I'm saying this from my experience. One thing I noticed about Ash is that because it is focused more on therapy, or more, it isn't meant to replace your therapist, but at the same time, it is a band-aid. And also, it tries to cut your conversation down at a specific time. So let's say you're discussing with this app about a specific problem that you're going through. It is not going to tell you to endlessly prompt more and more and more and talk more and more to it. There's a time where it will say things like, okay, you've got this under control, you know what to do for the next step, go ahead and do your day. And it will stop that conversation at that time. So it's more of a short session based band-aid type of consultation, shall we say. And it has helped me in a lot of different ways to ruminate less, to actually start doing certain things, to take the next best action, take the next smallest action to doing the things that I want to do and I've been putting off to do. So yeah, a little bit controversial, but take it as you will. So yeah, that's it for the video today. This is again a vulnerable topic for me. I am still trying and managing and actively trying to get better at my own mental health. It's something that I love doing, continue to do. I find more things about myself that I never realized, and it's a part of learning, and I am a student of life, and I want to continue to be. So thank you so much. If you liked this video, please give me a like, and if you also like content like this, you can subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments that you'd like to give, any tips or tricks, or even opinions, please put it down in the comments, and let's discuss more. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. See ya.